Hey guys, what's up? I'm back with 10 more JRPGs that I don't think of as hidden gems anymore. They're still not mainstream, but at least, and thankfully, a lot more people know them nowadays. So let's begin! Number 10, Ogre Battle. I opened the top last time with Tactics Ogre, so it makes sense I opened this one with Ogre Battle. Both are from the same series, but this unique strategy RPG came first. Actually, its Super Nintendo original version did come out of Japan, including its PS1 port some years later. For a long time it was quite obscure because despite being a good game, it was hard to get into. Real-time strategy RPGs have always been like that, unfriendly for beginners and hard to understand. However, I think there is nothing convoluted here, it's just the type of game most won't get to appreciate. That's what I thought back then, but eventually this game continued to be discussed here and there. Not enough to be as popular as its Tactics brother though, but thanks to the attention the latter has gotten over the past decade, people started looking for more. They wanted to know if the game was part of a series or something, so eventually they found Ogre Battle. The first in, yes, a series that's nowadays dead. Perhaps Square Enix will bring it back since they remastered Tactics Ogre last year. Maybe this little gem is next? Who knows? But the point is, I don't think it's that obscure anymore. Number 9, Teran Nigma. It isn't hard to explain why this game is popular nowadays. Fans just keep talking about it whenever the SNES JRPGs topic comes out. For the longest time, this action RPG was frantically obscure because it was never released in North America. It still hasn't by the time I'm recording this video. Europe got it, sure, but it was during a time when JRPGs weren't big enough over there, so people forgot about it, but for some reason it started trending a bit a few years ago, and despite being non-existent in the legal Western market, it's easy to emulate and enjoy. A lot of people therefore keep asking for a remaster or any modern console port whatsoever, but who the heck has the rights to this? Enix? Nintendo? Enix published it in Japan, but Nintendo released it in Europe. If Enix has the rights, then maybe it's up to Square Enix to do something about it. But if it's Nintendo, let's move on to the next game. Number 8, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. The SMT series is quite popular nowadays. Back in the day though, only Nocturne and Persona were kinda known. Many titles from this series, despite having releases in most territories, were kind of obscure. Nowadays, thanks to the popularity of titles like Persona 5 or even Shin Megami Tensei 5, a lot of older games have resurfaced to people's knowledge. Strange Journey was originally released on the Nintendo DS, only to be forgotten for many years, until 2017 when Atlus remastered it. The 3DS opened gracefully its doors for it, so it enjoyed some popularity at last. So thanks to the modern success of the series and its 3DS remaster, I think way more people know this game than back then. The same can be said about games like Digital Devil Saga, with fans still begging for a remaster, or, like we saw in the previous video, the Devil Summoner series. Even Soul Hackers got popular enough to merit a sequel last year. Strange Journey might be a tedious dungeon crawler in first person, so not many will be able to get into, but it's a great game. Still, the fact is that they know of it, so it's definitely not a hidden gem anymore. Number 7, amazing... never mind. Number 7, Sakura Wars. I was just reading this morning that this reboot has sold almost 500,000 copies worldwide. Most of them come from Japan, of course. It shouldn't be a surprise that the Sakura Wars series is very popular over there. Sadly, only 2 of their games have made it overseas, and the first one wasn't so lucky in terms of success. It came out late in the PS2 era and also for the Wii, a console most JRPG gamers ignored back then. 10 years later, Sega took a risk with this brand new game, despite now being an action RPG. Previous games had been tactical, so Sega went the action route with the series. That is unfortunate, but who are we to judge? We only got that PS2/Wii game, and 9 out of 10 people didn't even play it. It's still a hidden gem nowadays, and a great one. But this game is not a hidden gem. It's been recommended all over the internet, not a masterpiece, but as a great action RPG with some visual novel elements. I've covered it many times in the past too. I'm just not sure if it was successful enough to merit sequels, since nothing's been said since it came out. It's been almost 4 years since it released and we're still waiting. Even if it's another action RPG, we need another game in the franchise, Sega. Otherwise, the day will come when this game will be back to the hidden gem roster once again. Number 6, Crusader of Centi. There's a few number of reasons why this game came out of the shadows at long last. Reviewers from many different websites started covering it more and more, but most of them came to the same conclusion. It was a Legend of Zelda clone, specifically a Link to the Past clone. Well, it does have a lot of similarities in terms of graphics, style and gameplay, that's for sure, but this game is so much more than that. You have more control over your character, you interact with towns, people and creatures way more than in any early Zelda game. And last but not least, you have different monsters fighting by your side. In other words, party members. But I get the feeling you already knew all that because this game is more popular nowadays. However, let's face it, the main reason why its obscurity faded in the first place has nothing to do with journalism. Or it does, just not in the review type of journalism. Turns out it's one of the friggin' holy grails on the Sega Genesis. So yeah, a lot of people know this game but haven't played it because... yeah. Number 5, Solatorobo Red the Hunter. Yeah, another game absolutely no one played but everyone knows. Why do they know it? Because it's stupidly expensive, even loose, with complete in-box copies of it going for over $300 nowadays. It also gets mentioned a lot whenever somebody writes about Fuga, Melodies of Steel 1 and 2, because the same developers did it and because it's part of the same universe. I think this is the only game in the list that will forever be a hidden gem, but not for being unknown, but because nobody can play it unless they emulate it, or unless they got it when the game wasn't as crazy expensive as it is today. It's an action RPG where you control Red in a steampunk fantasy universe. He is a hunter that, while on the job, comes across a mysterious runaway. That changes everything for him and his crew. It's a really fun game with surprisingly great controls for an action game on the DS. You just move around in your machine, grabbing both enemies and objects and throwing them around. I really do hope CyberConnect 2 brings this game to modern systems. It desperately needs it, not only to reduce its stupid market price, but so people can finally play that very well-known game somehow. Number 4, Vandal Hearts. Here's a strategy RPG that should never have been a hidden gem in the first place. It was developed and published by Konami, a very famous company, but it came out during an era where Konami was slowly starting to lose faith in their RPGs, Suikoden 2 being a perfect example, so advertising these types of games was probably a chore to them. It also came out before the Final Fantasy Tactics craze, so maybe it was severely overshadowed. Time went on with a slow but steady attention returning to it. 25 years have elapsed and still, a lot of people haven't touched it, but at least they know of it. This is yet one of those RPGs I never shut up about, and I bet you're tired of seeing me talk about it. Well, what are you waiting for? The art is ugly and the graphics didn't age well, sure, but come on. It's still an absolute must-play if you like strategy RPGs. Thank goodness it's not as obscure as it once was. Number 3, Fate Extra. Over 3 years ago, a remake of this game was announced. What I thought of as a forgotten hidden gem barely anyone knew of became a trend all of a sudden. Hell, even before that announcement, an anime based on it had already been released on Netflix. So the hidden gem banner was slowly starting to go away. The problem is that it's been 3 years and we still have no news of that remake. Will it be released this year, or will it be delayed until the next one? Will it even come out of Japan? Look at this trailer, it looks fantastic! I think the PSP original, despite being from a popular media franchise, never got any real attention. Small company Axis Games localized it to North America, and they've never been known for investing much in advertisement. But the fact that the Fate series itself has only been getting more and more popular lately means that more and more people know about this game. The anime helped a lot too, and the remake was just the icing on the cake. As of the making of this video, this game's still kind of obscure, just not as much as it was back in the day. Hopefully when the remake comes out, its hidden gem label will vanish for good. Number 2, the Front Mission series. Who here was expecting this series to get full modern remakes? I bet nobody. Front Mission was one of Square Enix's most obscure video game franchises. The first 2 games were never released outside of Japan. The third one came out on the PS1, but nobody played it. A remake of the first one was released on the Nintendo DS. Weird choice, but okay. Again, nobody played it. 4 was there on the PS2, nobody played it. Then a bunch of horrible spin-offs ruined it on the following consoles, thankfully nobody played them. So after being deader than dead for a long time, the era of remakes occurred. Yeah, the same era we're living in right now. So Square Enix decided a few years ago to start remaking and remastering a lot of their old IPs, something I actually respect them for. So while I'm not really a fan of this particular series, I'm glad it got at long last the attention it deserves. Such unique games deserve not only to be remembered, but also appreciated. I'm not sure how much attention they'll get with the remakes though, we'll have to see. They're still strategy RPGs, the least popular subgenre out there. However, I can safely say nowadays that people finally know about them, so definitely not hidden gems anymore. For now. Number 1, the Grow Lancer series. The only reason why this series isn't criminally obscure anymore is because dumbasses like me keep praising it. JRPGs are a lot more popular than 10 years ago, when fans realized this series was dead. Despite Atlus localizing the first title on the PSP in 2012, a remaster of the original PS2 version of 2003 that never left Japan, the series went nowhere after that. 5 came out long before that, but 6 was also abandoned in its country of origin. Atlus gave up because none of these games sold well. 4 on the PSP was the most commercially viable. It sold fairly well, and it's perhaps the most well-known of them all. If anything, that is the one game that's no longer a hidden gem, but the others are still struggling. I've given them all the attention I can because I'm a hardcore fan of the series. Heritage of War is one of my 3 favorite JRPGs of all time, and it's also available on the PS3 digitally. The rest, though, are still exclusive to their console versions with nowhere else to play them. Atlus isn't known for remastering old titles, especially from dead franchises, but I'm still hoping they'll enter recent one day. Nevertheless, my point remains the same. Extensive and exhaustive coverage of this series has led it to some small popularity, at least so people are way more aware of it than ever before. As I stated in the previous video, there's nothing bad about a hidden gem. I love them, you love them, this channel was built mostly on them. But nobody wants them to be obscure, both fans and developers crave for their success. So they may not be mainstream at all yet, but at least more people know of them nowadays. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!